Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of The Workspace, a space where we'll be talking about business and culture, interviewing people with different backgrounds with a lot of experience to share and for us to learn. My name is Alejandra, and today I will be interviewing nurse Jessica Seitz. This very influential nurse decided to turn her experience in healthcare into comedy by saying the truth about the industry online. But before we continue with our guest, I would like to invite you to follow or subscribe to the Workspace podcast. It would mean a lot to me to have your support. Thank you. Jessica Sides has 2 decades worth of experience in the healthcare industry as a labor and delivery registered nurse in the Tampa area of Florida. She knows all too well the emotional trauma, yet gratifying moments nurses go through on a daily basis. After 20 long years of 12-hour shifts, she finally took a leap of faith to become a full time social media influencer who uses her platform to share decades worth of healthcare experience and a comedic talent to be a voice of the workers in the healthcare industry, while also being an outlet for other nurses and other healthcare professionals who are facing challenges in their career. Hi,
Hi, how are you?
welcome to the podcast, Jessica. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about it. Doing good.
You have a huge following online and you reach 14.7 million a week, which is like super awesome. Um, for a person that started 2 years ago, those are incredible stats. Why did you decide to go to social media? How did the nurse sites this started?
Well, first of all, it's really crazy to hear those numbers because I'm like listening to you say that, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of scary. um,
It
yeah,
is.
yeah,
But
it is.
it's wonderful. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's very, very exciting, and I am very, very blessed that my comedic content is getting shared and seen by so many people. Like I'm truly thankful for that. So yeah, I started. Actually, it's a little closer to 3 years to be honest, because I don't want to make it sound
Mhm,
like it happened that quickly. But the reason that I kind of branched off from working as a nurse, I worked as a registered nurse for 22 years at the bedside, labor and delivery.
mhm.
But I started to notice a lot of changes going on in the nursing world, and as far as nursing shortages, and I'm sure other things we'll
Yeah.
probably get into a little bit later. But I felt I've always been kind of like a jokester, kind of the type that like there's never a dull moment when you're hanging out with me. I love making people laugh. So I kind of just on a whim just made a couple funny videos and put them up on Facebook. It was nothing like, it was just for fun. Like it was on my personal page. It was, but my friends and stuff that followed me, they was like, oh my God, that's really funny. Like you really should make more videos. And as I started doing a little bit more and seeing that, like, I was like, either my friends are just being really nice or, or and these are my nurse friends because I was doing nursing stuff. I said, or maybe I should give this a try. And it was something that I really loved doing and loved getting feedback. So I just kind of continued navigating on that path as I continued working for a period of time, and that's kind of how I got into it initially.
And you did well because your videos are super awesome while telling the truth about what it is. And you have 2 decades of experience as a nurse, right?
Yes, yes.
Why did you choose that career? Why did you choose to be a nurse in labor? And do you miss it? Is there any difference from when you started being a nurse to when you finally just decided to leave? What was the difference, and how did you went to be a nurse? Why did you want to be a nurse?
I do. I love this question because I don't have the most glamorous answer initially, to be honest with you. So growing up, like my dream would have been like to be an actress and be on a soap opera or something. My grandmother, my abuela, used to always watch novellas all day long. So I'd get into like all these Spanish dramas, and
Yeah.
watching all these other things like General Hospital and all these famous, and I was like, I would have, I just envisioned myself like being one of those people, and obviously that
Yeah.
doesn't pan out for most people. So, I kind of made a decision initially when I started. I thought, what is something I could go into that I know is going to be a safe job, that's going to be dependable, that I'm always going to be needed.
Yeah.
And I chose nursing because I knew I could still entertain people, if that makes sense. Like I
Mm-hmm.
would be able to help people that, maybe might be in some of their most awkward or sickest or saddest of times, and maybe be able to uplift them a little bit. So I went into nursing for that reason. And then the labor and delivery part is I simply just fell in love with that when I was on one of my nursing rotations. I knew that was for me. Like I was hooked from the minute I saw a baby being
Yeah.
born. I was like, I love it. I absolutely, absolutely love it. So
It's nice.
I picked that, and I stayed in labor and delivery the entire time. I never once felt like I had made the wrong decision. I truly loved it. But I think in wrapping back to the last part of your question is,
Mm-hmm.
yes, in the end, I started to feel like I wasn't enjoying what I was doing anymore. And it's not because
Yeah.
I didn't still have the love for labor and delivery, but I felt like because of the demands that were being put on nurses and how
Mm-hmm.
short staffed we were and all the tasks that they were adding in computer things, I felt like I constantly um, didn't have the time to have that facial interaction with my patients like I loved.
Yeah.
I was always had my back to them because I had to be charting or I had to be in the computer. And it got to a point that I wasn't doing what I got into it for, which was to connect with people. And I wasn't able to do that anymore. So that's kind
Yeah.
of where that was my breaking point.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, unfortunately that's been happening. The shortage crisis, the 12 long hour shifts that you did. Um, it's been in the UK is the same thing. And with all of that, you started to make the wonderful videos that I have seen. And even though people say it's a twisted dark side of humor, I literally call it the truth with a bang. And I do love
Yeah.
it. And I do love your videos.
Thank
And
you.
what actually drove you to create the content and share tips? So you told us that even family and colleagues ask you to make more videos. Um, but the fact is that you're picking up a couple of topics like the shortage or
Yeah.
the badly paid, the 18-hour shifts that I know some of the nurses in the UK work, and nurses and doctors work. And where do you take the ideas to create your videos? So it's based on your experience and what you're seeing, what you're reading. Where do you have the
Well,
ideas?
so initially, like I was saying, I started getting into it and I was still working. And I really enjoyed the fact that after these long, horrible days, if a nurse not even just any healthcare worker could watch one of my videos and laugh for 1 or 2 minutes after having a horrible shift, then I felt
Yeah.
like I was doing my job. I was giving back, and to me, that was what I was getting from comments and people, saying, "Oh my gosh, this is exactly how it is," or "spot on." I mean, you nailed it. Like things like that. It really fueled me to keep going. But I
Hmm.
slowly started transitioning into, like you were saying, it can be seen as dark humor, but it is complete honesty. And I
Yeah.
feel like the the reason that people resonate and like my videos is because I don't at this point don't have fear of backlash from administration or from where you work, because that's the problem with a lot of
Yeah.
healthcare workers is they can't say what's really going on because they could lose their jobs. I mean,
Yeah.
if something is misconstrued and you're seen as deeming the place that you work at in a bad light, um, you definitely could get in big trouble if not fired. So I feel like I'm able to kind of put a voice to it, and
Hmm.
basically it's honesty. I will say It's horrible, but I love making fun of administration. That's like one of my favorite videos to do because it is the reality of it. Unfortunately, it's a big money
Yeah.
making system. And healthcare workers are put at the bottom of the totem pole,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much I want to continue to do that. I want to continue to be able to give a voice to people that can't give their voice and show what it's really like. But at the same time, as far as where I get content ideas, that's a great question as well. A lot of times I will just scroll different TikTok or Instagram or
Yeah.
Facebook reels, and I'll get an idea for a sound. Like, so I'll hear a sound bite or something, and I'm able to take that, like, I don't know, it could be a sound that maybe somebody's made a dog video and it has nothing related, but my mind will all of a sudden start kind of spinning, and I can see how that, whatever it is, I can turn that in and relate it to something that relates to healthcare. Or I'll just make up a skit. Like a lot of times, I'll do verbal skits where, I
Yeah.
play the nurse, and then I'll play the administrator, or I'll play the nurse and her work bestie, or just different fun scenarios. So I get ideas from a little bit of everywhere, I guess I would say.
And they are so funny. They are so funny, but they are the truth. So I know that many people relate, even for the comments, many people relate to your content. So you're working on full time on social media right now,
Yes, yes,
and people tend to think that videos or sketches or reels or TikToks, they just appear at the click of a button or snapping fingers, but actually it takes a lot of time to create and to create the script and to think about it. Let us know just a little bit. We do have a part here on the podcast called the 2 minutes of marketing,
okay,
and normally I just ask people to let us know, for example, in your case, is how is your work process? How do you create your videos or memes, because you also do them?
yes.
You write the script. How do you create? What's your work progress?
Well, a lot of times like I was saying, I'll come up with either a script idea, and I'll sit down and kind of get the basics of how I want it to work down on paper, but I never really detail a dialogue like completely in detail. I kind of wing it. I've always been that way. Like, even if it's somebody asked me to be a public speaker somewhere, I don't write a speech. I'm just way better kind of saying what comes to my mind, because I feel like a lot of times then it gets to be a little too forced and it doesn't seem natural.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I will just get a concept or an idea, and then I just start filming. I'll use, whether it's whatever platform I start on, TikTok or Instagram, and I'll start filming and kind of going back and forth. And then it's a process of, after that, you have to take the video, you've got to edit it, you've got to cut out extraneous stuff that didn't make sense. Sometimes you'll have to redo a clip. You've got to put them together. You've got to find audio that you either want in the background or don't want in the background. You have to make sure it's not copyrighted music where you could get in trouble. You have to repurpose content. You've got to film it, but then you can't share it on other platforms with watermarks. Like, there's a lot that's involved in creating these videos, but genuinely, they're all just, I always describe
Improvisation.
my brain is like nonstop. It's I'm constantly thinking and thinking of the next thing. But I love it. I definitely love it.
So you're an improvisation
Mm-hmm.
bro. So
Yeah, I guess so. And a lot of people are like, "How do you do that?" I'm like, "How do you
that's
write?
awesome.
How do you write a speech?" Like, to me, that is more difficult than just speaking on the fly. Like, I can't imagine, like, it's hard for me to just all put every thought down onto paper. I don't know. I just so much better. Like, even today, like, I looked over some of the questions and I just was like, I'll just see how it goes. I know, it's just my personality, I guess.
That's actually really good, because one of the things that I ever learned is that we can do questions just like I just sent to you,
Mhm.
but And I normally just, I just write the script for all the podcasts, either with an interview or without the interview. But the actually the questions are there, but
Hmm.
if you know what you're talking about and if you have the experience,
Yeah, you don't
you're
need
not going
questions.
you don't need that.
Right.
So exactly. So you just that you're going to speak about that, and okay, let me pick about this and just do it organically.
And not
So
only
that
that, but a lot of times a topic will completely turn a way that you didn't anticipate it going.
exactly.
Like, you and I might resonate with something and keep talking and forget the rest of the questions. You never know. So a lot of times I just, I really only ask people like, are we, just talking about a nursing shortage, or are we talking
Yeah.
about my comedy? Or as long as I kind of know which way we're going, I don't, I just roll with it.
And that's why we have interviews of 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Right,
So
right. Exactly.
yeah, and it's good. It's even better than it was scripted. So hey.
Absolutely. I prefer it like
Absolutely.
this. So,
Jessica, you are married to a doctor, you have your own family,
yes.
and you have the inside perspective and now the outside perspective of the healthcare industry in the US.
Hmm.
On one of my previous interviews, I was with Congressman Adam Smith,
Okay.
and he touched on the state of healthcare in the US as a patient himself in two ways, so the public and the private healthcare.
Okay.
In your point of view, and because we have healthcare listeners not only in the US but all over the world, what is your take in the public healthcare conditions for the healthcare worker versus, for example, the healthcare workers of the private? So, have you seen both conditions, or
Well,
do you
okay.
know the
Are you
difference?
talking about
Yeah.
it, like private versus public insurance, or are you talking?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Well, in, in all honesty, like working as a nurse in the hospital, I mean, obviously, we do take care of people that have private insurance versus public insurance, or whatever the case may be. But as a nurse, when you kind of go into it, you really don't know who has what insurance. Like, that doesn't really come up in your mind, because you just kind of
Yeah.
go in and just take care of people you know um I have seen, sometimes, as far as what type of insurance you have, kind of deems this patient can't stay here anymore, or we need to transfer this patient out because their insurance isn't going to, be able to cover this at this rate anymore.
Hmm.
But fortunately, I will say, with my husband being a physician, he is what's, I don't know if you know what a hospital is, but basically he's an OBGYN, and he works
Hmm.
for laboring or gynecological patients that come in, like, for emergencies. So he is kind of almost, in the sense, like, paid like a nurse would be. Like, he gets an hourly rate no matter what. So fortunately,
Okay.
he doesn't even have to deal with that side of, like, battling, with insurance companies and stuff. But
Hmm.
I mean, I will say, the biggest perspective that I can give you on things that I see that are different now is, um, because there's not enough staffing and stuff there to really take care of the
Yeah.
patients the way that they would want to be taken care of. I feel like, um, there's longer waits. There's patients trying to be pushed out sooner than they probably should, whether that's an insurance perspective or if it's just because they're trying to kind of get more patients in. I feel like, definitely, in that sense, things have changed over the last, few years or so. So luckily, I don't have to deal with that whole navigating of the insurance thing. Thank goodness. But
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question a little bit.
Yeah, because I'm in the UK. So basically, what I can gather from the hospitals in the US is that everyone, either you have an insurance or not, can go to the same hospital. Is that correct?
Basically, yes. Like, they can't turn you away. Like, if you come
Okay.
in with an emergency, you're going to be seen. It's not like you don't have insurance, get out. Like, so no,
Yeah.
everybody is taken care of, and usually they can figure out, like, if you need emergency funding or something, um, now they'll be taken care of. They're going to get a huge bill in the mail. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but no, nobody is turned away, or anything like that. But it definitely is scary for those patients that don't have insurance, because a lot of them fear even trying to go into the hospital, because they fear what that bill is going to end up being, what they're going to end up having to pay for the next 15 years, And I think sometimes patients will hold off, like going into the hospital system, or even going to see a physician, because they just don't have the finances for it. I know in Canada, like, the Canadian nurses, and, deal with a lot of patients that pretty much everybody's got insurance. I hear plus and minuses on both sides, as to like if public healthcare for all is better versus having private insurance like we do here. So I mean, I get there's plus and minuses, I'm sure, on either side. But yeah, no, we definitely. How is it like in the UK? It is private versus public?
It's private versus public. Yeah. So we have the NHS, which is going through a huge crisis right now. But if you have an insurance, which the majority of people are starting to get more, because the NHS, so our healthcare provider, is free for everyone.
Okay.
So imagine everything is free. I did have my son, for example. Everything was free with my labor. Everything.
Wow.
So I think it's quite differently from the
Yes,
the
way
US for
different. I'm
sure.
like, wow, that sounds crazy.
Exactly. So for example, kids can have till they are 16. They have everything for free. Dentists, surgeries, eyes, everything is for free. But then, of course, with all the changes in these past years, everything started to fall. NHS is not supporting. They don't have enough funding as everything, of course. And now people
Yeah.
are starting to get more insurances.
Ah,
So if
right.
you have an insurance, normally you go to a doctor or a hospital with you within your insurance. So it's different. You can go to the public, of course, but of course you're going to be treated maybe better or maybe faster, which I think it's why people get the insurances like myself to get faster in the private sector.
I definitely think you're right in that sense. Like, as far as like doctor's offices or outpatient settings, I think that private insurance reimburses them better, and they get a quicker turnaround on their reimbursements. So I do think a lot of times, like, I mean, I don't want to say just a doctor's office, but a dentist, whatever
Yeah.
the case may
Yeah,
be,
dentist. Yeah.
they're aware, the patient, they're aware of what their insurance is. So I'm sure that there is a preference on if they only have a limited amount of new patients. I would gather to say that they're going to want to go ahead and take on the ones that have certain insurances that are going to benefit the physician in the workplace more than the state insurance would.
Yeah.
So that definitely plays a role here too. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, but it's quite because I have heard and I do have friends in the US, and the bills are astronomical.
Oh, it is. It is. It is.
It's impressive.
It's crazy. I was asking. I was talking yesterday to a palliative care nurse. Somebody that helps
Yeah.
people transitioning, into the dying phase, and he was telling me that just to have like a patient on, ECMO, which, I don't know how familiar you are with nursing terminology, but,
I am.
okay, like a life-saving, thing as far as
Yeah.
keeping them alive is like $24,000 a day. Just that charge in itself. That's not even talking about all the other hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
things, that goes along with being in a critical setting or an ICU. I was like, goodness gracious. It's nuts. Seriously, it's just crazy.
Yeah. And that price, for example, is for someone that doesn't have any insurance, right? Or is the norm with insurance?
Or yeah, I mean, they could either bill that to the insurance company, or if they didn't have insurance, that's coming to you in the mail soon.
Ouch.
Coming to a mailbox near you. Something to look forward to, right? Goodness gracious. Yeah,
I
no.
could think of a sketch about that.
But yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. But nobody wants to go to their mailbox anymore after they get out of the hospital.
There you go, a new
I will
idea.
say, like, I don't know how it is there, but here in the States, like most hospital systems, as long as you're paying something towards the bill,
Yeah,
they're not going to default you to like the creditors and stuff. As long as you make some kind of arrangement. I mean, even
yeah,
if it's $20 a month or something, as long as you show you're trying, they try to work with you. Um,
yeah.
but
At least that.
but I mean, geez, nobody wants that over their head. Like, I'm going to be paying all this until for,
Yeah,
for the next 18 generations of my family.
I would remove my mailbox.
Yeah,
Like,
right?
there is no mailbox.
Yeah. Nope, sorry. I moved. No forwarding address. But
This is
yeah,
the place where the mailbox was.
or even
Don't know.
ambulance rides. Nobody wants to go in the ambulance because they're notorious for how expensive they are. People are like, they'll deny, like, no, it's okay. I'll drive
I,
myself. I
I'm
have
bleeding out, but
I
I'm
have
going
no
on a
legs,
taxi.
but I have no legs. I'll use my arms. I'll make it there. Don't worry. I mean, you got to laugh about it, but it's seriously sometimes the case, you know. Give me a
If some
tourniquet, I'll be okay. Yeah.
if someone that is going to the hospital and is going on two hands, we're very sorry for talking about you.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, if you lost your legs and yeah, you had to hobble down in the handstand position. I'm sorry.
Too good.
I know, right?
Oh my god.
See, this is
And
how stuff comes to my brain. Now you see how this works.
I'm having so many images
I
for
know,
that
right?
sketch.
Yeah, exactly. Seriously.
Oh my god. And one thing that I read about you is that you did, and this is was all too new for me, but I would love to be in there, a nurse con.
Oh, yes, that was so much fun. Oh my gosh, I love NurseCon.
What is it? Let us know how it went. But
Oh,
it was in April, right?
yes. So this is my second year going, and it's a cruise for nurses. Like, only you have to
That's
be a
so
nurse
cool.
to get onto the ship. Like, you can bring, like, not kids. Kids aren't allowed. So it's just like it's for nurses, and you
Adults.
can bring your spouse with you if you want, or you could
Yeah.
bring a girlfriend or whatever. But to actually book a room, you have to have a license number, and it's sponsored. It's run by Nurse Blake, who's another social media influencer.
Mhm.
So it's just a time for like nurses to all get together and cut loose. But at the same time, you can get CEUs. You can get some of your nursing credit hours while on the ship, and it will take
Oh,
you to
that's
the
cool.
Bahamas, or they've done Dominican Republic, or this upcoming year it's going to Mexico. But it's all sorts of fun. Like there's shows, there's everybody just cuts loose and
Yeah.
giggles and has a blast, and I love it because I get to see the people that watch my videos like in person. Usually I interact with them online, and I don't get that. I mean, unless I do a public speaking event or something. But it's so nice to see people's faces and be like, oh, you're Nurse Jessica. Like, they get so
Yeah.
it means the world to me to get that kind of feedback. Like, I truly, truly love it. But it's a lot of fun. Anybody that works as a nurse, I would in the US, I'd highly recommend. I'm plugging Nurse Blake here. Yeah. I'm like, maybe one day I'll be big enough to have my own cruise. We'll see.
I want to be in it. I'm not a nurse, but I belong to
Hey,
the same.
we'll get you on there. You can be my partner on the cruise ship.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll
deal.
put you on the ship. I don't know. I get a little crazy, so I don't know. You may not want to. You may,
It depends.
the year before last, it was a night party, and it was glow party, so everybody was dressed all like neon and glow, and of course
Okay.
I had a little too much drinky poos, and nobody's in the pool because this is like midnight, and all of a sudden I thought it'd just be a great idea to jump in the pool, like in my glow dress with all my jewelry on and my high heel shoes. But the thing is, once I jumped, everybody started jumping. It was so
I normally do that. I actually normally do that, but nobody wants to go with the idea. And then I do it, and everyone suddenly had the same idea and jumps as well.
Yeah, it
So
was
yeah,
good. Like, all of
definitely.
a sudden, there's a bunch of us all in our clothes, like, all soaking wet, like little wet chickens. It was so much fun, though. Yeah. I was like, Nurse Blake's not going to want me to come back again.
Nurse Blake, if you're hearing this, please come back.
Yeah. Please don't ban me from the ship.
Oh, this is too good. This is too
Yeah,
good.
it was a lot of fun.
Um, and I was telling you, here in the UK, we have many crises as well as in the US, including the shortages of staff, the wages, the working hours. For me, it's the working hours, like 18 hours, and then you have to get up the next day and work like 12 hours, and only having one day sometimes,
Mhm.
because the shortage of staff.
Right.
So for example, and you might have said this way before to everyone, but what is the best, biggest tips right now for all the healthcare workers that you can share?
I mean, I would say with the way things are currently is, first of all, don't be afraid to speak up, and not if you get into your work day and you get a completely unsafe assignment, if it's really something that's crazy and is going to be dangerous, you do have the right to refuse to take that assignment. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, that's patient abandonment. If you have not actually taken these patients, if you have not taken report and accepted them from another nurse, it's not patient abandonment. So
Hmm.
I would say don't ever get yourself into a position that you feel like you could make a mistake or something could go really wrong, because that's your license, that's your livelihood, and you have to protect yourself. So I would say first and foremost is to not have that fear. Secondly, I would say a tip that I would give is I don't see things getting better yet or anytime soon with the way the shortages are. I mean, at least here in the US. So another tip I would say is not to feel guilty to explore other options. Like, there's a
Hmm.
lot of things that nurses can do with their degree. It's not just bedside nursing, which is really rough nowadays. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
saying be a social media person, but I mean, you can go into people go to people's houses and do diabetic foot care. You can work from home, like
Hmm.
screening people on the phone, like a triage nurse would. You can work for insurance companies. You can there's I mean, a multitude of things you can do outside of bedside nursing. So I would say if you feel stuck, you can look elsewhere. Like, it don't feel like there's nothing else you can do. It might take time to find the right position, but to hang in there and keep looking, look out and see what you can do. I mean, I know a nurse friend of mine that he made it. He doesn't work bedside anymore, and he teaches nursing students you know uh, how to learn and how to study for the NCLEX, and that's his full-time job now. So there's really like so many different opportunities to do that. And then thirdly, I would say, no, don't be afraid to speak up, like to your manager, to administration, like to tell. There's nothing wrong with telling them and voicing your opinion. I'm not saying that it's going to necessarily work, but
Yeah.
there's not to have fear in that, not to have fear of like really telling them, hey, the things are wrong. This is wrong. We really need to look into trying to fix this because things are dangerous. That would be my three biggest
Yeah.
biggest tips for people, I think.
Yeah. And very good tips, of course. Especially the speaking up and regarding the patients, of course,
Yeah,
because
I mean,
sometimes,
yeah, it's
yeah.
your license. It's nobody else's. You at the bottom, at the end of the day, you have to protect yourself. And like you were saying, these 18-hour days, when
Yeah.
you're not getting good sleep, you're already compromised.
Yeah.
You're
Exactly.
you're not sharp like you should be. You're not going to be on your game like when you're well rested. And then
Hmm.
a lot of times they're not even getting breaks. So
Yeah. Exactly.
you work this long shift and you get no lunch, you stand and eat for a second, or um, it,
Or
it's
eat badly.
yeah, it's just awful. It's really the whole scenario right now is just it's
It
sad.
needs to change quickly.
I'm sorry.
It needs to change
Yes,
quickly.
it does need to change, because I tell people, this isn't just a nursing problem. This is an everybody problem, because if there's not enough nurses to take care of people,
Hmm.
it's going to be your family member or you or
Yeah.
somebody laying in that bed and not having the best care, or it's the experienced nurses are all going to be gone, and you're going to be left with maybe a brand new nurse who doesn't really know how to navigate things well. Not that I'm saying I love that we need new nurses. That's not what I'm saying. But a lot of times nurses are so burnt out after a multitude of years that they retire early, or like I was saying, they change into something else, and then you're left with either young, inexperienced nurses or nurses that are traveling from another state because that's the only way they can get staffing. And those nurses don't know the hospital. They don't know the units. They're trying to figure things out, so
Yeah.
I tell people, I'm like, if you want to be taken care of when you're sick, we need to fix this problem now, because it's going to affect everybody at some point, sadly. I mean, we all get older,
Yeah,
and
sadly.
yeah, usually
Yeah.
most of us end up in the hospital at some point,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anything can happen because
Yeah.
we are all humans, so anything can happen.
And that's right. Like, that's my humor is, I make all these joking videos, but if you really analyze it, I'm trying to get
Hmm.
a message across. It's almost like I want to like take the CEOs and I probably can't cuss on here, but I want to shake them, like it's like if you would just focus on I know it's about money. I understand that. That's
Yeah.
the way the world turns. I'm not saying to like, oh, let's just give all the money away. But I feel like if they would look at it from the perspective of maybe if, on paper, if you're staffing appropriately and you're paying nurses appropriately, maybe you wouldn't have that multi-million-dollar lawsuit of the patient that was neglected or given the wrong medication and died. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
they're just not looking at it the right way. And
Yeah.
I think that they would save money in the end if they just did it the right way. That's just my opinion, but I don't know how
That
long
is the truth.
to figure that out. We'll see. I'll probably be dead by the time. I, I don't
Or
know,
going or
because
doing
I
the
feel
high
like
stand.
nobody's listening right now. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Maybe if you do the high stand, they can see
Yeah,
you.
maybe that's what I need to do. I need to like I'll do some cartwheels down the lobby or something. I really don't know. Every time I think, I'm like, oh my, this is it. Nursing can't get any worse. They're gonna have to fix it. Nope.
Oh, something appears. I know that.
Oh yeah, it gets
Some,
worse again, and they just keep on going.
yeah, yeah,
And then they ask
unfortunately.
the nurse, "What could you have done to make things better?" And you're like, "What?" I, me? I mean, literally, like, that's not even a joke. We'll have patients that verbally or physically abuse the nurses. Um,
True. Yeah.
and a nurse will go to their management, and instead of them saying, do you want to press charges? They'll literally say, what could you have done to make it
Oh
better?
my
How could
goodness.
you have de-escalated the event? Um, that's a whole nother side of healthcare that's a mess too, is nurses are not protected like that. Healthcare workers are not protected against violence in healthcare either. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like listening to this podcast, people are going to be like, I don't know if I want to be a nurse.
I think I'm going to change to a teacher. Oh, it's the same.
Teachers are the same way. That's a whole nother thing.
Exactly.
Poor teachers, they might even have it worse. I mean,
True.
yeah, they're in the same boat as us. I have a lot of teachers that follow me actually because they can relate what I'm saying exactly to their job,
Yeah. See,
And
yeah.
it
Definitely.
mirrors it mirrors. They may not be starting an IV, but they're opening a book, and they're getting the same kind of things from administration, and it's a hot mess. That's for sure.
It is. Unfortunately, it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think that being a pirate, it's looking so very much brilliant.
right? I don't.
They don't get anything from anyone.
Oh my gosh, I'll
Well,
probably get in
they
trouble
actually
for saying
still.
this, but it's a running joke for nurses. Like maybe we should just be a stripper or or go or join one of them OnlyFans websites. It's just like a running joke, like
Only nurses.
yeah,
Only
only or sell pictures of
only.
her feet.
This is my glove from this morning.
Yeah, would you like me to mail you this in the mail? Hey, they're people pay
That's
for
a cool
great.
merchandise idea. Please, people, don't rob this idea.
Yeah, right, exactly. Oh my gosh. But yeah, we have to joke about it because it's like sometimes you're just like, oh my gosh, maybe I should have done something that makes a little more money and is easier.
Gloves.
Yeah, exactly.
By the mail. By
Hmm.
the mail. But you need to put the mailbox in the same place. So
And
you
the
might
other
get your
joke we
bill.
always say is we should have like because we don't have time to pee. They're going to start putting catheters in all the nurses, and we're going to walk around with
Good
a
Lord.
yeah with a catheter hooked to our scrub pants.
This is last week's catheter. Still
Yeah,
have
they
it.
would probably analyze: is it cheaper to give everyone a catheter, or would it be which is more cost effective, or to actually give them a break?
Exactly.
Hmm.
Here's the thought, administrations. So
Yeah, exactly.
and unfortunately we need to end this podcast. Otherwise we have 2 hours of podcast.
I know. I'm a
Um
doctor. I'm so sorry. I
no problem. This is so much fun talking about the truth, but still it's
yeah.
dark comedy,
Yep.
which is the truth with a bang.
Yep.
So and Jessica, what can we expect from you in the future? What do you want to do and what are your plans? You have merchandising,
Yes.
which will include now the gloves and the catheters, and and you have all the social media channels. And but what do you want to do in the future?
I want to continue doing what I'm doing, but yes, I want to do more merchandise. I am actually in talks with a scrub company right now that is going. I don't want to say yet because it's not finalized, but I may have my own scrub design. That'll be the
Oh,
nurse.
that's cool.
Yeah, so I'll be designing a scrub top and pants that would be my design and what I think would be, the most comfortable fit for somebody that's working as a nurse all day. So I'm really excited about that. I hope to be involved in more different things as far as making change, in nursing,
Hmm.
maybe more marches in Washington D.C. or more things where we're trying to fight to make change. But they definitely can continue to see me everywhere. Nurse Jessica Sites on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. But I'm going to keep making these videos and keep making people laugh.
Even speaking with you now, people can honestly see that you have the experience in what you're talking about, but you are so much fun to talk.
Thank Thank you so much. I had to make this PG. If this wasn't a PG podcast, we could get into a lot more fun. But I behaved myself.
Maybe in the next podcast that I'm just going to add like plus 18.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
And then we can
there you go.
w- yeah, people just stay tuned because this is going to be another episode
Yeah, part
with
two,
the
the
not
real,
PG.
the real Nurse Jessica.
And with a lot of ideas for merchandise as well.
Yes,
I
yes.
can help. I can help.
I know. Now I'm thinking
Thank
like I need to create a Halloween costume for nurses that has a catheter bag on the side.
that would sell.
I know
That
it
it's
would. Hey, I said first. Nobody steal that.
hey, Jessica said the idea. Nobody steals this idea from her.
Oh my goodness.
Smithies, if you are hearing this, you do not rob this idea. Smithies,
Smithy, don't sponsor me and help me make it.
sponsor Jessica.
Oh, thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you very much, Jessica, to be here at the workspace. It was so nice to see you, and I wish you all the success. And I think that we will talk about that episode up front in a couple of months, maybe.
Sure. Why not?
And
Sounds
and
fun.
I think it
Right.
will be fun. And
Yeah.
I don't care if it's long 2 hours. I don't care. We are going to definitely do it. And let me tell you that even though you are sharing and making people laugh, sometimes it's not easy to make people laugh. So, but you are doing so
Not,
brilliantly.
not
You are
always,
doing a brilliant job.
I'll keep on trying.
And for those that want to reach out to Nurse Jessica sites, I will leave all the links in the description where you can follow and have a good quality time laughing and learning. If you try to rob her ideas from this podcast, I know we have this on recorded, and you cannot rob her ideas from merchandising.
and
Smithy, I'm on
and
to
and
you.
and you'll hunt them down.
Yes, that's my FBI job.
Thank you so much, sweetie. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much for being with us. And just to end this episode, for our next episode, we will be talking about how to use every social media channel to market yourself and your business. And before we end this episode, if you haven't done so, I would like to invite you to follow and subscribe to the Workspace podcast. It will mean a lot to me to have your support. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and see you on the next episode of The Workspace.